In a near-future landscape where nations have crumbled and cities have rotted from pollution and endless conflict, a harsh authoritarian power, known simply as a regime, has seized full control. Under their rule, every child under 18 is stripped from their families and forced into military academies, where they are reshaped through discipline, propaganda, and relentless combat training. Deep in the quiet forest far from regime territory, young Waze darts between the trees, exploring freely. She suddenly spots a small bird perched on a branch above her. Instinctively, she raises her handmade slingshot, takes aim, then lowers it again. Instead, she extends her palm and softly murmurs a word in her ancestral Cree language, almost as if trying to communicate with the creature. The bird simply flutters away. Moments later, her mother, Niska, appears and asks why she didn't shoot. Waze replies gently that she was listening to it instead. They resume walking, but Waze becomes distracted by the forest around her. She steps unknowingly onto a hidden bear trap, which snaps shut on her leg. She screams. Niska instantly drops to her knees, prying the metal jaws open with a mixture of panic and determination. She binds the injury tightly with fabric and helps her daughter limp back home. An abandoned truck the two are converted into a small, rough shelter. That night, Niska notices Waze's wound is bleeding more than expected. As she checks the bandage, a mechanical humming noise outside makes her freeze. She peeks through a tiny gap in the metal wall and sees a regime drone sweeping the wilderness. She whispers for her daughter to stay silent, grabs her gun, and moves outside with cautious, deliberate steps. When the drone swings its lens away from her, she fires a shot. The machine crashes to the ground. She fires again and again, ensuring it is completely disabled. Knowing the regime will send more, Niska hurriedly gathers their belongings. She sets their improvised home ablaze to erase evidence and flees into the night with Waze. They push through the shadowy woods for hours. Waze groans from the pain in her leg, but Niska insists they cannot stop. Not with more drone searching. At last they reach a hidden boat by the river. They paddle nonstop to the darkness until dawn breaks over a devastated, war-scarred city. Before stepping ashore, Niska wraps a bandana over Waze's face and pulls a hood low over her head. She explains no one can know Waze as a child. New regime broadcasts now claim that hiding minors is treason, and the intake age has been lowered to 4. As they quietly navigate the ruined neighborhood, a neighbor steps out and catches a glimpse of Waze's small stature. Niska readies her knife defensively, but the man begs her not to worry. He too is hiding his underage son, Trey. Niska accepts his reassurance, but insists they do not mingle with anyone. Later that night, while Niska sleeps, Waze sneaks outside and sees Trey at his garden. He takes her to show a fallen drone, claiming it has been inactive for ages. But Waze hears faint noises, like shallow mechanical breathing. Without warning, the drone jerks awake. Before it can fully rise, Niska suddenly appears and smashes it repeatedly with her weapon until it collapses. She drags Waze away at once. Soon after, regime officers known as the Jingos arrive to seize Trey. Trey and his father insist Trey is 18, but the officers scan Trey's wrist using a special device, revealing he is only 15. They take him by force. His father lunges to stop them, only to be shot dead instantly. Shaken, Niska and Waze eventually reach a crowded slum market. They weave between stalls while avoiding the guards posted everywhere. Monitors on the walls play constant regime propaganda. To her heartbreak, Niska sees her old friend Pierre on the screens, now a public face of the regime's message. Suddenly, drones roar overhead and drop package rations, sending crowds scrambling wildly for food. Niska waits until the frenzy becomes a distraction, then hurries Waze into the home of her trusted friend Robera. Robera embraces Niska warmly and remembers Waze fondly from when she was younger. While Waze feeds Robera's cat, the two women talk in the kitchen. Niska explains the girl's wound is infected and she needs medicine. Robera sadly tells her that clinics are now patrolled by Jingos. They cannot risk visiting one. She also shares an old photo of Pierre at his academy graduation, suggesting maybe Ways could benefit from joining as well, gaining citizenship and opportunity. Niska refuses. Academies mean losing her child forever. The next morning, Niska wakes to the sound of Jingo vehicles entering the market. They begin checking every passerby, searching for minors. Panicked over Ways' deteriorating injury and growing fever, Niska makes a devastating decision. She tells her daughter she will get medicine, steps outside, and reports to the officers that a minor is inside the house. As they rush and take Ways, Niska flees. Once she is alone, she collapses in emotional agony, sobbing uncontrollably. 10 months pass. Niska now lives in a worn-down apartment block. She helps her impoverished neighbors when she can and shares her rations with those more desperate than herself. At the outdoor market where she works, her new acquaintance Randy approaches her, saying he has discovered a possible way out of their situation. He asks her to meet him later. After her shift, Niska stops by a large fence surrounding the academy. People have covered it with toys and memorials for children taken away. She adds Ways' favorite toy to the display and cries until she can hardly breathe. Returning home, she finds Jingos swarming her building, searching for rebels linked to an earlier attack. Meanwhile, inside the academy, Ways has recovered fully. She trains harder than ever with the other children and obeys every command. Selection day approaches. They will soon choose which students are sent to Emerson State for advanced conditioning. Yet Ways silently refuses to recite the regime pledge during drills and secretly expands a hand-drawn map of the academy, marking doors, hallways, and vents. One night, she hears a girl being dragged away by instructors. The girl does not return. Later that week, Niska meets Randy in a bar. He reveals he found a man capable of reprogramming their IDs to grant them Emerson citizenship. Niska detests the idea of living among the elite, but Randy reminds her citizenship would allow her to access information and maybe find Ways again. She reluctantly considers it. That evening, she visits the memorial again and drifts asleep. She wakes to find a wild horse standing nearby. She approaches gently, calming it. Hearing a faint voice, she follows it to discover a young man, Charlie, operating a laptop and microphone. 2 adults lead a group of children away from the academy under his remote guidance. Believing they are abducting the kids, Niska leaps into action. The men swiftly overpower her, cover her head, and carry her off. Hours later, the bag is removed. She is inside a dim shelter deep within the forest. Her captors explain she is now among the Cree, indigenous resistance fighters who have been rescuing children stolen by the regime under cover darkness. Niska speaks a bit of the language, confirming her own Cree heritage. The group's leader, Ida, sends Charlie to verify Niska's identity. She might be useful. They bring her outside to a communal bonfire. Survivors share food, stories, and music. An elder approaches Niska and explains a prophecy. A guardian from the north would one day protect their people. The elder believes Niska might be the one foretold. After the celebration, Niska quietly slips away to explore the camp. She discovers a tent filled with sleeping rescued children and breaks down weeping. Ida finds her and listens as Niska finally shares the truth. Ways is still trapped in the academy. Ida praises Niska's courage for hiding her daughter so long and welcomes her fully into their community. At dawn, Niska wants to return home, but the Cree ward her Ways is in grave danger. The academy presents itself as a school, but it molds children into emotionless Jingo enforcers. They promise to extract Ways and reunite her with Niska, but only if Niska leads all rescued children north to a rumored sanctuary. Niska insists such a place is myth. They assure her it is real, but they need someone skilled enough to guide them through the wilderness. Niska protests. The journey is 3 weeks long, and drones make movement nearly impossible. Leo, Ida's trusted companion, bluntly explains that if Ways is shipped to Emerson, her indoctrination will be permanent. Niska angrily argues that the Jingos at least provide food, medicine, and education, before running away in frustration. Leo tells Ida that Niska might not be the guardian after all. Ida replies that Niska simply needs time. Inside the academy, Waze witnesses the previously missing girl return, shaken and traumatized. A small bird lands on the fence nearby. Waze quietly speaks to it in Cree. The bird flutters close to her face before flying off again. That night, Waze waits for lights out, then unlocks her bedroom door with a shard of metal she has fashioned. She races into the hallway, but alarms blare immediately. Guards swarm in and throw her into a cell. The next morning, Niska returns home to discover her favorite neighbor lying dead. Bodies line the hallway. Randy appears and covers her face, telling her a deadly virus has broken out. Borders close tonight. If they want to escape with their new IDs, they must move quickly. At the market, they hear loudspeakers ordering all residents to report for evacuation. They find Rabera, whose house has been ransacked. She believes the regime poisoned the ration food. Randy wants to take Rabera to a safe shelter, though she cannot cross the border. As they try to escape, a guard intercepts them and forces them into a bus after checking them for infection. Randy whispers to Niska that he has a smoke bomb. When he uses it, they must run. Niska insists Rabera comes too. When the smoke erupts, chaos breaks out. Rabera rushes toward a Jingo officer, her son Pierre, begging him to recognize her. Instead, he coldly recites propaganda and shoots her. Randy tries to save her, but is shot in the hand. Suddenly, gunfire erupts. From above, Jingos collapse. Leo and Simone's arrive, saving Niska. They speak ceremonial words to honor Rabera as Niska realizes Leo was right about regime manipulation. She agrees to help them. During their escape, Niska learns Leo's father was an energy diplomat, giving Leo high-level access codes. He also reveals a virus was an Emerson operation, and the regime plans to use children as soldiers. Simone's recounts the Elder's prophecy of giant metal insects and a northern guardian who would defeat them. Inside the academy, Waze is moved from her cell. An instructor berates her Cree heritage and calls her Elizabeth, trying to erase her identity. Waze denies the name. The instructor plays a heartbreaking 10-month-old recording of Niska revealing her location to Jingos. Waze is devastated. Later, Waze breaks an academy record by assembling a rifle in record time. Another girl calls her a cheater and mocks her ancestry. Enraged, Waze attacks the girl, beating her until the instructor intervenes. Pleased with Waze's aggression, the instructor asks if she is ready to fight for her country. When Waze answers yes, she is informed she will be transferred to Emerson tomorrow. That evening, Waze recites the pledge for the first time. Meanwhile, at the Cree camp, Niska storms into a council meeting demanding they start the rescue immediately. Ida explains that the regime built a mining road overnight. They must evacuate tonight. Niska says she will not guide them north unless Waze is saved first. The elders agree they will rescue the academy children before leaving. That night, Charlie guides Niska and Leo through sewer tunnels. They slip into the guard station when the officer leaves. Leo grants Charlie remote access to the system. Charlie unlocks all doors. Niska races through corridors until she finds Waze. The girl accuses her of abandonment. Niska breaks into tears, apologizing until they finally embrace. But the guard returns, discovers the hack, and sounds the alarm. Jingos flood the hallways. Leo kills two defending himself. Charlie warns the Cree camp has been discovered. The regime is invading. Niska tries to flee with Waze, but Charlie sees something else coming and begs him to escape quickly. Leo tells Niska he will distract the soldiers so she can save the children. He runs into the hall, whispering a prayer. A drone hovers toward him, but Niska returns and shoots it down. She orders Waze to help gather the children. Charlie seals doors remotely. Waze uses the map she drew to guide them out. At the Cree camp, soldiers advance. Ida sends Simone's to lead the evacuation while she waits for the children. She gives a speech encouraging unity. Gas bombs rain down, but warriors toss them back. Niska's truck bursts through the line surprisingly unchallenged. Leo warns they are being corralled intentionally. Waze clutches her head. An intense, high-pitched sound fills her ears. Then the sky grows dark with swarms of drones, matching the elder's prophecy. Niska tries to drag Waze into the truck, but the girl steps forward, chanting softly. She raises her hand, and a drone stops midair, turning its weapon away from the Kree soldiers. One by one, more drones reorient. Charlie gasps. Waze is a true guardian. The drones force the regime soldiers to retreat. As victory is celebrated, a hidden soldier in the grass aims at Waze. Niska leaps in front of the bullet. Simone's kills the attacker instantly. Niska is carried to the ground, wrapped in a blanket as Waze curls beside her. Drones descend slowly, forming a glowing circle above them. Niska dies with Waze in her arms. Niska's body lies still beneath the soft whirl of the hovering drones, their circular formation glowing faintly like a halo over her and Waze. The Kree gather in mournful silence, surrounding mother and daughter as the forest wind carries their grief into the trees. Waze clings to Niska, refusing to let go until Simone gently guides her away so the others can prepare Niska's burial rites. Even in her sorrow, Waze senses the drones gently lowering altitude, as if keeping watch. After honoring Niska, the Kree load the rescued children into their trucks and begin the long journey north. They whisper blessings in Kree over the younger ones, promising the road ahead will lead to refuge and life. But Waze barely hears them. Her eyes stay locked on the sky, tracking the drones that now follow from above, moving with her as though bound by instinct. 16 years later, in a quiet, modest neighborhood in another town, Pat lives cautiously under an assumed identity, no longer the energetic rebel of years past, but man shaped by paranoia and loss. His teenage daughter, known now as Willa, trained several afternoons a week in martial arts under her instructor Sergio, who has become a close family friend. Willa is disciplined, sharp, and strong, traits she unknowingly inherited from her mother. Pat watches her with pride, but also mounting fear. The world is still dangerous. The regime persists. And Stephen, her biological father, is still out there somewhere. Willa attends school like any other teen, but Pat keeps a close eye on her, refusing to let her have a phone and triple-checking every person who interacts with her. He hides his fear poorly, chain-smoking and scanning the street outside their apartment every night. Far away, Captain Stephen remains active in the regime's operations, still running and supervising immigrant detention centers. Over the years, he's never forgiven the rebels for humiliating him, and he has certainly never forgotten perfidia. One morning, Stephen receives a formal invitation, one he has coveted for years, from a notorious white supremacist organization known as the Christmas Adventurers Club. He attends an interview in their secretive headquarters, answering a series of invasive purity questions, including whether he has ever had an interracial relationship. He lies smoothly, saying no. They dismiss him with promises to review his file. Meanwhile, elderly Howard, the ex-rebel inventor, still broadcasts coded calls to action over pirate radio channels. One day, bounty hunter Avani captures him and drags him away in his car. Local kids witness the kidnapping and rush into Howard's home, using his equipment to broadcast an emergency rebel signal that the network still recognizes. Howard is hauled to a regime black site. There, soldiers threaten the life of his sister. Terrified, Howard reveals locations of remaining rebel contacts. His intel reaches Stephen, who uses it to disguise a deadly purge as a standard military operation. He dispatches teams across regions, one team targeting Pat's area. The net tightens at home. Willa and Pat have a heated argument. Pat scolds her for wanting more freedom, while Willa is fed up with his paranoia. Eventually, she storms off to her school dance. Before she leaves, Pat forces her to take one of Howard's old detection devices. Ava sends someone carrying another unit. Later at school, Willa sneaks to the restroom. The device beeps. She turns around to see Deandra, a young woman Pat once trusted. Deandra recites a coded phrase. Willa recognizes it, confirming she's safe. Deandra tells her an SOS signal was triggered. Howard been taken. Stephen is coming, and Willa needs to escape now. Meanwhile, at the dance, regime soldiers burst in, questioning every teen. Willa escapes with Deandra moments before the soldiers sweep the building. Pat receives a call from a rebel contact asking for the emergency code. Pat panics. His memory is muddled from smoking, but after a painful effort, he recalls it. The contact warns him Stephen is coming and Willa has been extracted. Pat must head to one of their secret rendezvous points, locations he frustratingly cannot recall. Soldiers break into Pat's home. Stephen enters last, picking up a picture of Willa and inhaling slowly, a disturbing look on his face. Meanwhile, soldiers find a hidden escape tunnel. They throw a gas canister inside, but Pat crawls frantically and escapes before passing out. He reaches a payphone and calls a rebel base, but they refuse to help. He can't remember the full code, so they assume he's compromised. Soldiers then begin raiding businesses and homes all over the town. Desperate, Pat seeks help from Sergio. Sergio reluctantly brings Pat to his home and listens as Pat reveals everything. French 75, rebels, Willa's real history. Sergio is shocked but supportive. He helps organize escape routes for local immigrants, sending skateboarders to alert families to hide in a designated church. Sergio takes Pat to a secret safe house above his wife's store. Pat contacts the rebels again, furiously demanding info. During his rant, he accidentally recites an older code phrase, one only high-ranking rebel coordinators know. This finally grants him access. A supervisor friend asks a deeply personal question Pat answers correctly, confirming his identity. They share Willa's location. Sergio activates a hidden escape tunnel for the store's immigrants while Pat prepares to flee. Soldiers arrive moments later. Sergio gives Pat a gun, gives instructions to his wife, and tells Pat they'll regroup. Pat escapes across the rooftops with a local teen named BG, but loses his footing and falls, landing directly where soldiers can grab him. He is arrested. BG calls Sergio to report what happened. Stephen's final hunt at the convent where Deandra has hidden Willa. The nuns train the teen in hand-to-hand combat and tactical movement. Willa overhears him referring to her mother as a traitor, and Deandra reluctantly confirms the truth, that Perfidia betrayed the rebels before fleeing to Mexico. Before Willa can process it, she hears something outside. Soldiers burst in, capturing everyone. Stephen marches Willa into a private room and forces a DNA test using swabs from both their mouths. He coldly states that if she is not his biological daughter, she will be released. Otherwise, she has a problem. Willa stares straight into his eyes and says, "Pat is my dad, not you." Stephen's facade cracks. He yells. The machine finishes analyzing. The result confirms she is indeed his daughter. Elsewhere, Sergio drives recklessly with Pat still cuffed in the back, trying to evade police vehicles. He tells Pat he needs to jump out, but Pat freezes in terror. Sergio takes a sudden turn, causing Pat to tumble out onto the ground. The police keep following Sergio, giving Pat a chance to hide in a ditch. Pat steals a random parked car and races toward the convent. The exchange Stephen meets a Vanny near the hills. He offers money to have Willa removed. Avani refuses. He doesn't kill children. After more bribing, he reluctantly agrees only to transport her to a militia group operating in the area. When Willa is dragged from the car, she kicks Stephen and makes a run for it, but he grabs her and tosses her into Avani's backseat. Stephen then drives off. Further down the road, Sergio's car is finally stopped. Acting drunk, he distracts the soldiers long enough for immigrants to escape deeper through the woods. Pat arrives near the convent and climbs to higher ground just in time to see Avani's vehicle leave with Willa. He fires from afar, missing every shot, and soldiers fire back. Stephen escapes unharmed. Pat flees and continues in his stolen car. Howard's device begins beeping. He is closing in on Willa's signal. Willa fights back at the militia base. Avani hands Willa over and prepares to leave, but he pauses. The men guarding her act strangely, violent, leering, unstable. Something about them unsettles him. He turns back, storms inside, and takes down several guards. He frees Willa and gives her the chance to run. As Willa escapes, Avanti is shot and killed inside. She takes his keys and flees in his car. Soon she notices another vehicle tailing her. Tim, one of Steven's extremist contacts. She slams the brakes, jumps out, and hides. Tim speeds forward blindly and crashes into her abandoned car. He stumbles out. Willa steps behind him and recites a rebel passphrase. He doesn't know the reply. She shoots him. Just then, another car stops nearby. It's Pat. Willa panics and shouts the code. Pat recites the correct response through tears. She runs into his arms. They collapse together, sobbing in relief. Steven did not die in the earlier car crash. He survived with a disfigured face and now hides under bandages. He limps into the headquarters of the Christmas Adventurers Club for his final acceptance. The leaders confront him with evidence. Pictures suggesting he has a mixed-race daughter, inconsistencies in his file, suspicious activity. They accuse him of lying about Perfidia. Steven insists she drugged him and took advantage of him years ago. The leaders exchange glances, say nothing, and grant him membership, ushering him into a private office. He sits. The door seals. Colorless gas floods the room. Steven collapses instantly. Two figures in hazmat suits enter, zip up his body, and carry it off for cremation. A new beginning. Pat tells Willa the truth. Perfidia sent him a letter years ago, but he hid it to protect her from their dangerous history. He finally hands it to her. The letter is heartfelt and full of regret. Perfidia writes that she thinks of Willa every day, hopes she grows strong, hopes she changes the world, hopes maybe one day they will meet again. Willa cries quietly and hugs Pat, thanking him. Later, Pat finally agrees to let Willa have a phone. They sit together listening to rebel transmissions on the radio, keeping track of growing resistance movements. And as protests swell in the streets beyond their home, Willa joins them, taking her first steps into the legacy her mother once believed in. The drones still circle in the memories of those who saw them, and somewhere far beyond the borders, the North waits.